Hey guys, how's it going? So this past weekend, I was at a Recall Whitmer event in Calhoun County, Michigan, and we were joined by a guest named Tammy Clark. The following video is going to be of her just offering encouragement, talking about what she's doing as the director of Stand Up Michigan. And I think this video would be especially encouraging to people in Michigan, but even those of you in other states. I think it gives a lot of good advice and encouragement of what's going on here at the grassroots level, as well as organized efforts to try to get the tyranny out of our state and bring the power back to the people. So here is the speech or town hall. Just kind of hang out with Tammy Clark. I hope you enjoy.
After all this, great respect, but give us a rousing applause for Tammy K. Clark.
Thank you. I really appreciate Amber inviting me. I feel bad because she's invited me to speak at other events, and it's just always been I've had something going on. But between my business, I still own my company. I've had the company for 11 years, but before that, I taught at the university level. I've consulted for different other companies, and so between my business, which is kind of on life support because I have been working very little of my own business for a while, when I decided to take the role with Stand Up Michigan as the executive director, I just got really busy between the two, trying to save the state of Michigan and trying to keep my clients happy. So Amber has reached out a few times, which I really appreciate. And I'm just, sorry I haven't been able to do more with more groups, but I have had my hands full and just been overwhelmed with what I have been doing and what we've been involved with. It's been very successful, but you can't do everything, and I am one who wishes I could. I do a lot of things, but I wish I could do more. So I'm glad I was able to make it here today. I appreciate the invitation. I was just saying before we started, before I was introduced, that I love meeting people in person. I love the FaceTime. I love to meet other Michigan citizens and connect with you all, look you in the eyes, shake your hands, give you a hug. I love meeting people and getting to know the other Michigan patriots who are fighting right alongside of me. And what I'm doing really is for all of you. It's not just for me or my business. That's initially why I got involved, selfishly, because I refused to shut my business down. I was angry. Yeah. And if any of you have come to our Stand Up Michigan rallies over the summer, you've heard me say from stage, this is a righteous anger. It's okay to get angry. Yes. God gets angry. Jesus got angry, flipped over the tables, called them names. But the Bible just simply says, don't sin when you get angry, right? So anger is an emotion. We were created in God's image, which means God gets angry. And that's okay. There is a time to get angry, and we are supposed to love the things that God loves, and we are supposed to hate the things that God hates, which is sin, tyranny, oppression. God came to set the captives free. It's Christmas season, and God gave us the greatest gift ever in his son Jesus. Amen. Freedom. Amen. That's what he came to do, was to set the captives free, to give us freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, right? And so that's what he's all about. That's what the kingdom of God is all about. And so we are to love and embrace and appreciate freedom. So what we're fighting against, and the reason that I stood up and I accepted the position as executive director with Stand Up Michigan, was because I am a business owner. I have children, I have a family, and I am a significant portion of my family's income. If my business has to shut down, my family does not make it. And that simply was not acceptable to me. I knew that was not only not right, but I knew it was wicked at the core. To tell a person, a mom, a dad, that they cannot earn a living, that they cannot go to work and make a wage and feed their families, is not only just wrong and un-American, it's sinful. It is wicked at its core. Because what does the Bible say? If a man does not work, neither shall he eat. And what was our government telling us to do? Go sit at home, stay away from your family, stay away from your friends, don't work, just sit at home and collect a paycheck for doing nothing. That is not only wrong, it's ungodly, it's unbiblical. And that's where I stood up and I said, no, I'm not shutting my business down. I refuse to stop working. It is not only my right, my constitutional right, but it is biblical. And I have a biblical worldview. And I feel that we all, as citizens and as Christians and as believers, we all have a duty and a responsibility to stand up and fight for what is right. Fight for justice, fight for righteousness, fight for freedom because that's biblical. And so we are at war. Make no mistake about it. They have declared war on us, and this is a spiritual war. What we are seeing being played out all around us in the physical realm, what we're dealing with Governor Whitmer, with these other governors that are all acting right on cue. They're following the same playbook. In fact, I left, I was back in Chicago about a month ago maybe, and Governor Whitmer had just come on and shut down the restaurants. And the very next day, I went to Chicago, and I was in a hotel when I heard Governor Pritzker come on and he said, almost word for word, exactly what Governor Whitmer said. It's like, this is so scripted. Yeah. And they think we're so stupid that we don't know what we're doing.
We are stupid.
Well, a lot of people are.
We wouldn't have what we got.
You're right. A lot of people are. And it's very frustrating because I said, and I tried to be kind.
I can't be.
But the older I get, I've also said this from stage, so it's okay, I can say it again. The older I get, the less tolerance I have for stupid. Sorry. It's just true. So I can come across as a little bit salty because of that. But I've stopped apologizing for that because that's the reason we're in the position we're in.
You say it better. It's okay to be ignorant, but it's not okay to remain ignorant.
Exactly. I know. I have a lot of little phrases like that I've been known for. And, you know, some people say I'm too much. And I say, well, those aren't my people. Anybody that's going to say I'm too much for saying what I say, which is right and truth, well, they're not my people. Go crawl back in your hole then. I don't care.
Amen.
But I will still fight for those people. Because they have a right to remain like they are. They have a right to believe like they believe. They have a right to be non-confrontational. They have a right to sit down. But I'm going to stand up. Because I know if we don't all get together collectively and stand up and fight right now, we will not have anything to fight for and to stand up for tomorrow.
Exactly right.
So this is why I got involved with Stand Up Michigan, because they were looking for an executive director. And this was a group I had been following because I was sitting working from home on my computer. And I stumbled onto this podcast. Some of you may remember back in the early days when Stand Up Michigan first started, it was Garrett Soldano started the Facebook group, Michiganders Against Excessive Quarantine. And I stumbled on, you remember, were you there in the early days? Okay, so I stumbled onto them at that time too. And it was when Kevin Skinner and Garrett were doing this Beauty and the Beast podcast. Do you remember that? Kevin with his big beard. And Garrett, Mr. Good-looking sports guy, and then we got the bearded guy. And so it was the Beauty and the Beast podcast, and I loved it. It was so inspiring to me because I felt like there's other people out there that think like I do. And they were both business owners, just like me. And so it was very inspirational to me. I remember one day I was sitting working on my computer, and I had my phone kind of propped up, and I had the Beauty and the Beast going, and I was listening to them, and I'm doing my work. And Garrett came on, and he said, and it was almost like he was speaking right to me. That was kind of a God thing. And he said, we're at the point where we have almost 500,000 Michigan citizens following us. And we need to bring this organization, or this movement to it become an organization that is structured, that can become effective and actually start doing something about this. So we need an executive director to take it to the next level. And I just felt in my spirit, it was one of those God things where you know when it's God and you know when it's you. There's a difference. My heart started beating and I just felt this quickening in my spirit, and I actually stopped typing and looked at the phone. And I thought, okay. And I knew it was the Lord telling me that I should apply, and I thought, well, Lord, how in the heck am I going to do that? I'm trying to run a business, and I've got a family, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just knew that I was supposed to do it. So I contacted them right away, and I said, here's the thing, guys. I've been watching you. This is who I am. This is my background. And the Lord is telling me that I need to apply for this position. So here I am. I'm just applying. The rest of it is up to you. Ball's in your court. Well, it was like 24 hours later, and I was hired and interviewing and meeting everybody. And then within 2 days, I was at the first, my first Freedom Fest, which was in Brighton. And so the rest is history, I guess. From there, I just really grabbed the bull by the horns and took this, what was a movement, and helped it to grow into a structured organization that has been very, very effective, as you know. What we did with the petition drive was historic, not only in the state of Michigan, but in the nation.
I was part of that too.
I know you were, I know. You're a rock star. So it's been awesome to see, to be able to gather the people. But I think one thing that we've been able to do successfully with Stand Up Michigan is that the Lord brought individuals who didn't know each other together And that was the coolest thing to me, because it wasn't anything Tammy did, it wasn't anything Ron did or Garrett did, or Kevin. We all just were drawn together, moved individually, and we met each other through this, and boom, it just exploded. Because of our backgrounds, because of our experiences, I think because of our leadership and managerial experience and background and business background, we were able to very quickly form a process, create a process and a structure to get this thing moving quickly and to succeed. So it has kept me busy, honestly, like 24/7 since I started in July 1st.
She's had like maybe one vacation.
I know, and even that, they're like workations, because, you know, I went to Miami, as you know, but it was working with Kristen and Megan to bring education to schools, and we met some of the America's Frontline doctors down there.
When I talked to you last time, you're like, we're on a family vacation, a much needed family vacation.
Yeah, I don't even remember where. Oh, probably a weekend up at my cabin or something. That's about all I get. Because cell phones don't come in up there, which is wonderful. Otherwise I would be blown up all day long, and which is good. I'm not complaining. It's just, you know, it's time to roll up the sleeves and get some work done. And so I've been really praying for the Lord as I stepped into this role. My goal has been, Lord, just use me, use my experiences, use my credentials, use my skills to be your mouthpiece. I'll be your hands. Tell me what you want me to say. Show me where you want me to go, and I'll do it. But I've really been focused on trying to bring unity, because there are so many different patriot groups, and there's so much of this going on, and I've tried to just remain above that.
That's why I sent you that song.
I know, I love, and I appreciate that. I really appreciate Amber, because Amber has been so positive and so encouraging, and I know y'all are hearing all this, you know, this group says this, and this person from this group says this, and we've tried to just stay above that, not get pulled into that, because all it does is create division. And a house divided against itself cannot stand. And sometimes I think, oh my gosh, I just want to shake people and say, do you realize what you're doing? The Democrats are absolutely sitting back loving this infighting, because we're shooting ourselves. We're killing each other, stabbing each other. Ultimately, you can't be effective if you're going to be fighting each other. So I'm really excited about what we're doing with the Christmas extravaganza. Have you guys heard of it at the Capitol on Wednesday? It's going to be.
Oh, is it Wednesday?
It's going to be huge. It's going to be big. If you can come, I know it's December 23rd. It's 2 days before Christmas, and so there's, you know, parties and things like that.
Is it?
It's from 4 to 7 at the
Yeah,
Capitol.
I got permitting that night.
Yeah, and then we'll bring them all out there. We're going to have prayer there too. Yeah, we've got a couple pastors that are speaking, and we are praying for the governor, for the government, and it is called When the Gretsch Stole Christmas event. The people took it back. And so we have a live nativity. We have Santa coming. We're encouraging people to, you know, we're going to have a parade with floats and lights and everything else. And we're encouraging people, decorate your cars, get some of those solar lights on your cars and flags and everything else. We're going to have a parade through downtown Lansing, and it's already been approved by the city. And we're also going to be speaking, Kristen, Megan, and I, we were talking about Kristen earlier. She and I are going to be dressed as the two Cindy Lou Who characters, because it's the Gretsch.
So cute.
The Gretsch. Well, you know, she's got her one little schoolgirl outfit, and then she's got her pink jammy nighty
she's got
outfit.
the long hair.
And she's got the
for
crazy
it.
hair and all of that. So yeah, we're gonna be in rare form on stage, and there's a lot of great speakers coming. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. But our kind of theme is the Cindy Lou Who, emphasis on who. We're gonna expose the World Health Organization and a lot of the corruption from the local levels all the way up to the global organizations, and what is really going on.
Right.
What is behind this? So it's going to be a fun event. It's a Christmas themed event, but we're not letting her get away with this. So all these different patriot groups are doing this together, and we've come together, all the leaders, and we're trying to pool our resources, our skills, our connections, and we're all using all of our platforms to share it. We have the funniest video I just shared on my Facebook and our locals group, Siena Michigan Locals Group today, that one of the guys made, and it's hilarious. He actually acts this whole thing out with his family, with the Christmas music and everything, about how Gretsch is trying to steal Christmas, and we've got her in full green. She looks just like the Grinch with her face. And so it's funny if you haven't seen it. But I would just encourage you guys, if you're available and you can come out to the Capitol, it's going to be fun. We've got vendors there selling sweet treats and hot chocolate and lots of fun. There's going to be some prizes and awards, and obviously prayer, Christmas message, but it's really just a stand-up event. I mean, I don't mean Stand Up Michigan, that we're only one of the groups putting this together. I mean, it's a stand-up event. Everybody in Michigan stand up and refuse to let her steal Christmas of all things, right? So there's a lot that we've been doing. There's a lot going on right now with the election. It is not over yet. Stop watching the news.
Newsmax or Ion are the best ones
Yes,
to
I
watch.
was just gonna say, Newsmax
They're
is
the only
all
ones to
I
watch.
watch anymore because Fox News has sold out. So, there's a lot going on, and my whole thing was, I haven't been involved with the recall petition other than I've signed it and had people at our events with tables and encouraging people to sign it. We've just been so busy and swamped with what we're doing. We can't do everything for everyone. We've got our hands full. We're still in the middle of the lawsuit with the Secretary of State for the repeal 1945. She decided that she needs another year, Here's the interesting thing. So here's the interesting thing with this. So she said, Secretary of State decided that, the Michigan election, Trump only lost by 130 some thousand, and really that's enough that we do not need to, hire more people, do this investigation and all of this. There was no need for that. It was only 100 and some thousand. And so she dismissed that very quickly. Well, obviously, it's very one-sided because we collected more than 200,000 signatures than we needed. But now she's got to hire a whole team, and she's got to, we have to fully investigate this, and it's going to take us a year.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, this is so egregious. It is so obvious what they are doing, playing politics with this. When it comes to what they want, it's totally fine. When it comes to what we want, what the people say, it's not okay. We're going to hold you hostage and hold your petitions hostage. And so we knew this was going to happen with her. So we were fully prepared, and we filed a lawsuit against her to force her to look at the petitions. We've got you could take one of every 3 petitions and throw them out, and we'd still have enough.
Right.
This is ridiculous. And so we do have an ongoing lawsuit against her right now. Of course, everybody is saying, because the Democrats started saying they don't know how we did what we did. Because it wasn't through paid circulators. It was through 60,000 Michigan citizens.
I got that email.
It was historic. It's never been done before. There were a few paid petition circulators because that's how you always get a petition event done. But we didn't really need the paid petition circulators, and nobody could believe it. So because we hired the Unlock campaign, or we set them up as a campaign, that campaign was its own standalone actual political campaign, and it was funded by regulated funds, as all political campaigns are. And so those people ran that petition initiative. Stand Up Michigan is a completely separate organization. We're a political cause. Therefore, we can get behind and support causes we believe in. And so we support and believe in the repeal 1945 law, so we really supported that and ran with it. But we were not funded by that. So what happened was the Democrats started spreading these rumors that we had all this dark funded money. We're funded by dark money. And so they threatened to initiate a lawsuit against us, and we're like, go ahead. The only money that Stand Up Michigan has ever gotten has been from the citizens' donations, or by selling t-shirts at our events, right? Which is tough because we're paying marketing people, we're paying our web people, I'm the only one on salary. It's a very modest salary. But we have expenses as an organization, and we've never crossed anything with the Unlock because that would violate campaign finance laws. We can't do that. And so it's very clear, it's very transparent. But when the Democrats started this, some of the other Michigan Patriot leaders who don't understand what we're doing or how we did what we did started on the same bandwagon. And so I've had to address that. For the most part, I just, whatever, let them talk. They don't know what we're doing, so they're making assumptions.
We've had to deal with it with this movement too, where somebody tried to say we were done before we were done.
Yes, and see, why would they do that? All you're doing is hurting the people. All you're doing is hurting the causes that we're all fighting for. And there have been a couple times where I've had to step in and say, listen, you need to stop speaking to something that you have no information about because you're doing a lot of damage and you don't realize it. I wanted to say, you're being used of the devil, but I didn't go that far.
I laugh at them because they're like, well, the governor's really protecting us and our health and well-being. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, right. The only threat right now to the state of Michigan, to our health and well-being, is Governor Gretchen Whitmer. She is a threat to us. Suicides and depression has skyrocketed among our children.
Did you know they don't know the numbers? When they were asked by the legislature up there what the numbers were currently, they said, I don't know, we don't do that till the end of the year. He's like, we're in
nothing.
the middle of an emergency here and you don't
Right.
have numbers?
No
Like, what
science,
is
no
going
data, no facts, no nothing. So this is why I've become very vocal about the facts, the science, because as a PPE expert, as a health, safety, and compliance expert, court-approved subject matter expert on this particular topic, I do have the science and the data and the facts. It goes all the way back to the 1970s. We're ignoring decades worth of science right now, and we're pushing something for which we have no science, no data, no facts. We've actually passed House and Senate resolutions, bills, demanding that the governor release her science and her data and her facts, and she has yet to do so. So there is none. And that's where I said, you know, even OSHA is guilty of revisionism, because they created a respiratory protection standard in 1979, because you can't just force people to mask up. You can't just throw people in masks or respirators, because it causes health hazards. So we have to follow a respiratory protection program if we're going to do that. This is why. So OSHA's violating their own standards right now. They're very guilty of revisionism. And so Kristen and Kristen is my military counterpart. I have worked in the private industry with businesses. She has worked in the military, training military personnel. We do the same thing, same job. But she is also, in addition to my credentials, she is also a senior industrial hygienist. So we've talked with those officials in OSHA, and we've told them, you know that what you're saying is wrong. And if you agree that it's right, then you should have all your credentials revoked, because it goes against everything you've been trained on. Everything. And when we call them out like that, they get real quiet and they stop talking and they go away. They were threatening Tri-Unity Christian School. They've kind of disappeared since Kristen and I stepped in. They were threatening Jimmy's Roadhouse. They've kind of gone quiet since we started talking. And that's what we need to do. And that's why Kristen and I are not going to shut up and sit down and go away. Because the only way this is going to stop is if we, the people, take it back. And we make them afraid of us. Because we're also afraid of the government right now. And this is why we were talking about the restaurants. Where are they? Why aren't they here? The restaurants in your area should be here today. Where are they? They're afraid. But if they continue to be afraid of the government, this is never going to end. It's only when we get together collectively and stand up and we make this government afraid of us that this will finally end. Because when the people are afraid of the government, there is tyranny, right? But when the government is afraid of the people, there is liberty. And that's why I have been working so hard, day after day, trying to bring unity within the troops, trying to rally everybody together. Come on, guys, they can't control us if we all stand up. We've got to get our courage on, because courage is contagious. So stand up and fight like you've never fought before. We are in the fight of our lives right now for the heart and soul of this nation, for Western civilization, for Judeo-Christian values and principles, for our very way of life. And if America falls, so does the whole world. Because what would the world be without the United States of America? Absolutely decimated. We literally uphold, feed, support the entire world. And they know this. And that's why we are in an all-out war for the very heart and soul and existence of this country and of this world. So I don't think people realize just what is at stake, and that we cannot sit down. I've been willing to put my business on life support and make so much less money, it's ridiculous, than what I've been making. Ron Armstrong, his business has been decimated. He's not making a dime. He has been doing all of this as a volunteer. People don't know that. They make assumptions about us. And so then they start saying all kinds of things that are not true, instead of rallying with us, supporting with us. We know you're hurting. Our families are making far less money as well. We are going through the same things. I have children at home, and I have a freshman, a son who's 15. He's a young man, he's a boy who loves football and wrestling, and yet I've had him crying like a baby on my shoulder. We're all in this together. We're feeling the same things. We're dealing with the same financial pressures, mental health struggles with our children. We get it. So stop complaining and stop fighting and stand with us. It's like, I'm a mom because I use the analogy of A Bug's Life. How many of you have seen A Bug's Life? And we're like the ants, right? And it was Flick, the brave little courageous ant, who said, if we all stand up, there's nothing they can do. And he got all those ants to stand up and come after those grasshoppers and scared Hopper away. That's what we need to do. I have that image in my head all the time, like I said, you can tell I'm a mom. Because that's what it is. That's where we're at. So I just wanted to encourage you. I don't know where the recall petition's at or where the numbers are at or where they're going to fall. I don't know because I just haven't had time to
He
get
hasn't
it.
made them public because he wants her still guessing.
Okay. So yeah, I don't really know where this all stands right now.
Yeah.
But no matter what, here's the thing that I do know that you're probably feeling, because I feel it too. I struggle with it too. And God has graciously connected with me with some really good national leaders that have been in the political scene, that have been connected with the Trump campaign, that have been they're kind of their own public figures, and they've been very popular, and kind of a celebrity in their own world for years. And God has graciously connected us at Stand Up Michigan with some of these leaders because we need the support too. We are out there on the front lines fighting for you guys 24/7, fighting for this state, fighting against tyranny, and it is so discouraging sometimes. You know what gets more discouraging to me than anything? When our own people attack us. When our businesses cave to fear. Sometimes I just think, what am I doing this for? With my own people, they're on my team and they're going to fight me and they're going to come at me. And then the restaurants that have been standing for so long, when they cave, it gets really hard for me to keep myself encouraged sometimes. So one of the people that I've been connected with, one of the public figures that I'm friends with now, I've gotten to build a really good relationship with him, told me, Tammy, you have to remember, because I called him just about in tears a few days ago. He said, you have to remember, there's going to be setbacks. There's going to be highs and lows, and the lows are really low because you know that everything is at stake. And it doesn't get lower than that. When you think, oh my gosh, our country is gone. It's just gone now. When you're thinking that, where do you go from there? There's no lower than that, right? So the lows can be really low. But you have to remember that we're in this for the long game. And so I keep telling myself that his words kind of roll around in my head. Okay, we're playing the long game. You don't turn the Titanic around overnight. It's going to take time. So no matter what, in these individual battles, yes, we won the repeal 45, but I don't know if we'll win the recall one. But we can't get so focused on the individual battles that we lose sight of the war.
It's the overall message,
right?
And anything worth doing is going to
That's
be
right. So we're in this for the long game. Don't get discouraged if the individual battle that you've been fighting, you lose it, because we're not going to lose the war. I'm convinced of that. So even if there's setbacks, even when you get lows that are really low, the Bible says, encourage yourselves in the Lord. That means we can encourage ourselves. He wouldn't tell us to do something that we couldn't do, right? So we need each other. We need to rely on that support from our brothers and sisters and our family, our Michigan family, our Patriot family, our Christian brothers and sisters, our Christian body. Encourage yourself in the Lord. It's okay to get discouraged because that's normal, right? But don't stay there, because if we stop fighting, it truly will be over. We can't stop fighting until there's no breath left in us. Why would we? It's like I tell the restaurants, why would you just cave? You absolutely have no future if you do that. Why wouldn't you at least go down fighting? Because that's courage. That's being a hero. And you at least give yourself a fighting chance, right? And so that's what we have to remember, that no matter what happens with the recall, no matter what happens with the individual battles or the causes that you are involved in, you're going to lose some, because nobody wins everything. But that's okay, as long as we stay united and we stay together and we stay in hope, because the Bible says that hope deferred makes the heart grow sick. We cannot lose hope. We ultimately know that we win the war, right? So if nothing else, I haven't been involved really with the recall, other than, like I said, signing it and encourage everybody else to sign it, and having them come to when we've hosted events and we've paid for those events, having them come and let them set up tables and stuff there. But like I said, I don't know what's going to happen with it. I don't really care, to be honest with you. All I care about is that we keep fighting. We have to fight the fights that are ours. And as long as we do that, because somebody said to me, well, how do you just not get so discouraged? I mean, you're out there on the front lines and you hear this, and even the legislature, we'll have some of them come on, and we've tried to get them to use our platform to message, right, to get out to people.
Or I've invited you to go educate them on what they're doing, because they want educated, but they don't want educated at their level.
Yes. So then they'll come on and they'll say one thing when they're with us, knowing that you all are listening, and then we watch them go pivot, and then they go talk to somebody else and they say something completely different, and then people think, oh, you're just chummy with the legislature and blah, blah, blah. I think, oh my gosh. No, not really. We're trying to hold them accountable, and we can't control what they do and say, but we're trying to work in unity. We're trying to not make enemies of everybody. we're trying to hold them accountable. And have you noticed in the last couple days, all of a sudden they're responding, aren't they? What did the legislature just pass? What did the House just pass? Are you aware?
So I talked about this earlier because I saw, is it Ron Armstrong's
Yes.
video yesterday?
Yes.
That they passed the repeal of the 1945 law yesterday.
Yes. The bill.
And they also would set up a joint commission so she cannot issue any more executive orders
Exactly.
between now and whenever they come back in session.
Yes.
The only question I have is, it's supposedly retroactive to November 20th. So does that mean all these orders that she supposedly issued yesterday are void?
Well, we're going to have to see what the Senate does with that. But it's on its way, right? The House has passed this. It should, because they've set up the Joint Commission. But what has happened, what this tells us is, all of a sudden the legislature is hearing you. Because we have not shut up. We have continued to blast them, continued to reach out. And this, what's happening with this, is it takes away their power. And it's about time.
Because they keep getting getting more creative, where he wants you to mask in your house because the kids are now virtual. He wants you to mask while teaching in your house, and I'm like, excuse me. What?
But that so backfired. Did you see the Gretsch on TV yesterday with her creepy Santa? I don't know who that was. That was her husband. I was like, oh my gosh, that was creepy.
Looking at her long ago.
I know. I have to watch it in my position. Lucky you don't have to. But
I'm sorry, but gosh, I'll pray for you. I haven't watched her once.
I know. Well, okay, so here's the thing. Happy hour starts in my house really early when she comes on at 1:30 in the afternoon. Just saying. I cannot get through watching her without a big glass of wine. And then I'm like, well, I've had a big glass of wine and it's now 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I guess we're rolling into dinner. I mean, but at the same time, it's like I can't get away from it. I have to watch her because I have to know. I have to stay ahead of what's going on, what the opposition is saying, so that I can keep you informed and we can respond appropriately with the legislature. Because one thing about Stand Up Michigan is that we are not knee-jerk. We are not reactionary. I get people from all over the state send me stuff, call me. You have to put this out on the platform. You have to send this out. And I'll say, slow your roll. Let me double check that. Let me verify that. Because I would discredit our organization real fast if I just threw everything out there and created all kinds of confusion. There's a lot of stuff flying out around that is not accurate. It's a half-truth. But if you embrace that and run with it, right, you will discredit your organization and you'll never be effective. None of the legislature will ever want to work with you. And so we now are privy to inside information. So when somebody calls me and they say something, I had to do that just the other day with a very well-known person who's connected all around the state within a lot of groups. And he called me and he said, I need you to put this out because this is a call to action. It's very urgent. And I was thinking to myself, it was about the Rudy Giuliani situation. Now we knew at Stand Up Michigan he was coming in on Wednesday. This person was calling me saying, the legislature is blocking him and they're not letting him come. And I was like, but I had been told I couldn't say anything. So all I could say was, well, I appreciate your concern. I really do.
That for you.
But I can't put that out as a call to action. Well, by that night, there was all kinds of stuff flying around about Stand Up Michigan and how we're in bed with the legislature, so we won't hold them accountable and blah, blah, blah. All I can do is go, okay, I remind myself all the time. A person of integrity expects to be believed, and when they're not, they let time prove them right. So I was able to, after Rudy we had to wait till he made the public announcement that he was coming in. And then when he did, I could finally say, this is why I couldn't put that out there. I knew he was coming. We were told we could not make that announcement before he did. So it's not that we're chumming in bed with the legislature and we're trying to protect them. Not at all. Because if any of you have seen the interviews I've done with them, you know I ask them some tough questions. And I can't believe sometimes they come on. Because I give them the questions ahead of time, right? And I even commended them like, oh, I can't believe you're here. You know what I'm going to ask you. Because you've got some explaining to do. Because the people are asking me, and I'm not going to answer for you. They've elected you. You sit in their seat. It is your job to answer them. So we'll give you a platform, but I expect you to start explaining, right? Because we've got hundreds of thousands of people that are going to hear this and listening. And they do. I mean, some of them will, and I give them credit for that. So last week, Saturday, I don't know how many of you saw my lives that we did. I had Representative-elect Steve Cara in the car with me for 8 hours, which was wonderful because he got all this for me all day long. Okay, here's what I need you to do, right? And so I just kind of, it was like part mom mode, and it was part, leader of a very well-known, now nationally recognized organization. But my main message to him was, he's a lot of fun, we had a blast together, and we're totally on the same page. But my main message to him was, there's a whole new freshman class incoming in the House of Representatives that I'm very excited about. They are anxious, they are eager, they are sick and tired of the lack of leadership in the legislature, and they want to go grab the bull by the horns and they want to make a difference. Now, they're going to go through their training, and they're going to be told, day one, sit down, shut up, know your place, you're not going to come in here and shake things up like you think you are. And immediately they go, that's what happens, right? And you watch them by the end of year one, they're not as vocal anymore, they're not as anxious. And I warned him, and now he's worked for State Rep Steve Johnson, so he knows the game, which is great because he's already aware of some of the stuff. But what I really encouraged him was to please go and speak with the other legislators that are coming in, because we want to partner with you guys. We're not going to be the mouthpiece for the GOP, because the GOP, as far as I'm concerned, all those rhinos need to leave and go start their own party.
Right.
We need to take the party back.
Yes.
And I'm not interested in starting a new party. They have abandoned their party and they need to leave. We're gonna try to raise up leaders from within at the grassroots level. That's one of our goals with Stand Up Michigan, is to create some platforms, some training platforms at the local county levels, and then take the intimidation factor away from running for office. Most people don't run for office because they're intimidated, but we want people to know, here's what it looks like to run for school board. Here's about how much time you're going to have to put into that. Here's what it looks like to run for city council. It's not scary. Anybody can do it. You don't need a college degree to do this. All you need to be is a citizen.
Most of the school boards need reading.
School boards, well, this is where politics happens, is at the local levels, and we've given it away because of that. So it is time every citizen gets involved in whatever capacity they are able. So if we start with the local offices and the local elected positions, and we grow that into the state rep positions and the Senate positions, we will effectively replace the GOP from within. And I think that the sleeping giant has been awakened. People all over this state, all over other states, are angry, and they're not tolerating it anymore. And so I have been saying, I don't care really, I mean, I do care, but talking about this topic, who lands in the White House, we have 4 years. And within 4 years, we can effectively restructure the GOP. If we roll up our sleeves and get to work right now, we can. And so here's the thing, Stand Up Michigan, we just announced our regional, we're breaking the state down into, I think we're finalizing it actually this evening. I have to do a live at 7, so I gotta figure it out by then. Ron and I were talking about it on the way here, 12 or 13 regions I think we're gonna have. And we have regional coordinators for certain regions, and we're looking for regional coordinators for each region. That we're going to have our very first regional meetings in January. And what the regional coordinator, so we're asking people, if you guys know anybody, let us know. If anybody's interested, let me know. Because our goal is by February to have identified some county leaders within the regions and start having county chapters established and chapter meetings.
I'd like to talk to you more about that.
Okay, I'll talk to you with you afterwards.
Okay.
That's how we are going to then create an educational training system for the everyday mom and dad and grandma and grandpa and whoever was interested, right? Just average old citizen out there to get involved at the local level so we can start taking it back. And once we get back into those positions, we will never let it go again.
I need you to educate these schools about the masking issue first.
Well, that's what Kristen and I did down in Miami last week. So we flew down to Miami. Some of you probably saw our videos. Our adventures on the balcony was one that was crazy, where they put us up in a penthouse and it was like 25 stories high, and the balcony wrapped around the entire penthouse. And Kristen's terrified of heights.
Yeah.
Too. So one night, after a little wine, we had an adventure on the balcony, and it was all videoed live. It's hilarious actually looking back on it, but that was our fun. But we worked the whole time we were down there. So we met the Dr. Larry Podolsky from America's Frontline Doctor. He's a pediatrician. He's an emergency room physician from New York City. He met us there, and we did a training all day long. We started early in the morning. We had a 4-hour session, including Q&A, with the teachers, the staff, and the parents, and then we did it again in the afternoon into evening. And it was all videotaped by the production crew from the Highwire, Del Bigtree's Highwire, if you guys know who he is. So they flew out there, met us out there, and videotaped it. I haven't seen the release of the formal official video yet, but what our goal was to educate the parents, educate the teachers, educate the staff on the truth about the health hazards involved with prolonged mask wearing.
Well,
how
'cause it's
dangerous
against
it actually
Michigan
is.
State, it's against the Michigan law up here, and yet they're still doing it.
Absolutely.
And I bring it up, I get laughed at.
I know.
I'm like, why don't you ask a expert?
An expert. So the cool thing is, this was the Sentner family. They are billionaires, philanthropists, very good people, very good conservative, freedom-loving people who flew us down there. They own the Sentner Academies. And they said to us, we want to hear from the experts. This is the first time anybody has ever said that to us. So we were just floored, like, what? And she says, well, we've been watching you. I've been watching your videos, and you know, a lot of people have around the world, but she reached out to us and said, if we fly you in, would you be willing to come in and do an educational seminar? And of course, Chris and I said, absolutely. So the Highwire team flew in to record it and to make it into a professional production, because when you have the frontline doctors and you have Tammy and Kristen on there who are already well known as the mask experts, right? It is going to go global. And our goal is to make it free, make it available free to every school board in America. We recognize that education, and those are the 3 pillars of Stand Up Michigan, is to care for the people. That's how we started, by creating a platform that people could come together. And you know, if you were part of MAEQ back then, it was just people coming together to talk, to share their stories, because we were so isolated. We were told you couldn't get together, you couldn't talk. So we started out just by caring for people and sharing with them. And then our second pillar is inform. So we've gotten real busy educating people. And when I took the position as executive director, they didn't even know that I was really a court-approved subject matter expert in masks. And I didn't say anything for a couple of weeks. It wasn't until they started talking about going back to school in masks that I started becoming real vocal. And then of course, Ron and Garrett and everybody were like, oh my gosh, you're a what? You're a mask expert? They didn't know that. But it really played, look at how beautifully it is married. This is just a God thing. Because I've been able to educate people through our platform to reach hundreds of thousands of people. And so education to us is critical. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to be working with Hillsdale College. I've already been talking to them. And we are going to be providing education through the Stand Up Michigan platform in the local chapters to schools, homeschool curriculum, to educate people for free on the Constitution. Because you know what? The NEA has had an agenda for a long, long time to take over this country through re-education of our children. Yeah. And they have done it. They've successfully done it. They have brainwashed our kids. They don't know history. They know nothing about history. In fact, the only history that they know is that our founding fathers were horrible racists and evil people. That's what our children actually think. So most people, even our age, do not know their Constitution. They do not know the Declaration of Independence. They don't know what their rights are. And so we have to get busy educating people again. So this doesn't happen. So we've already been in talks with Hillsdale, and we're going to partner with them to not only educate the citizenry of how they can get involved at the local office level, and what does that look like? Take the intimidation factor out of it, and then people will do it. What does it look like to educate yourself on the Constitution, our founding documents, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, right? So the Constitution protects the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is what gives us our rights, not the Constitution. The Constitution protects those rights. Okay. And our elected officials swear an oath of office to that Constitution. So if they violate it, the Declaration of Independence then tells us, stand up and take their power away. People don't understand all of this. They don't even know anymore. That's what we're encouraging people to do, is start local chapters, find churches to gather in. We're even starting to hear about churches. There's one in Corona, that whole Owasso area there. There's a local deli that has stayed open, and it's the only one in town, and she's become very, very busy. So the church is opening and telling people, go get your food, and if you want to buy takeout from the other restaurants, and bring it to our place, our church, and we'll set up tables and you can all eat in there. Yeah. So they're setting up like a little restaurant. Isn't that cool? Like, we can do this. We can support our businesses and
Well, I
we
was
can come
very
together.
encouraged by the video that I saw yesterday afternoon,
Ron's video?
yes.
Yes.
At first I was
Yes.
not sure it was gonna be great news, but
It's so hard. If she comes on, like we gotta follow that up. Like really, it's a tough task, but we're trying to stay positive because when people lose hope and they get discouraged, I'll tell you what, the number one tactic of the enemy is to get you discouraged, to take you out.
Yeah.
And when you lose hope and you get discouraged, then he wins because you have lost your power and your effectiveness. So that's my goal. Keep
Do you
everybody
think that
encouraged.
people being on the Capitol steps every Saturday is having an effect.
No, absolutely do not. I think it's counterproductive
Okay.
to what we need to do. And that's why I've not been on the steps of the Capitol every weekend. Because what happens is they're getting COVID fatigue. They're getting rally fatigue. They're getting fatigue, right? And then it's kind of like crying wolf. Then when we come on and we say, look, we've got something you need to be at,
Yeah.
they're like, well, I was there last 3 weekends, whatever.
Well, that's what I told,
Yeah.
David about like the petitions. There's been so many back to back. It's not that they're not good,
That's right.
but people are losing their momentum.
That's right. And
And
people were
it-
tired,
Right.
you know, and
I mean, I understand the point of it is it started once before and for some reason it was dropped and wouldn't be passed down and it was just completely wiped out. And then it takes time to restructure it and because it was a good thing to do. And you are running out of time to be
Yes,
able to do
yes.
it. I understand the aspect, but everybody like they want to listen to what Gretchen and the health department person is saying and they
Yeah.
want to be in their bubbles again.
I know.
And because it is a grassroots movement this time, we can't do electronical because, you know, that takes a different approach.
Right.
So it makes it even harder because you have to go door to door or you have to go to
Yeah.
your list of restaurants and.
Right. I know.
Yeah.
So all I can tell you is prayerfully navigate your way through this. I pray about everything I do. I do not react at every citizen that calls me or every patriot leader that calls me and tells me I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to share this, I need to do that. I pray about it, I research it, I make sure it's valid, I make sure it's legit. As you know, we are on the forefront of the information that you need. Like Ron yesterday, right? I was like, I couldn't be there, I was out of state and so Ron hops on and he was able to do that. But all of us, what we're trying to do is make sure that you stay informed and educated because that's our pillars: care, inform, and activate. Give you the information you need and activate you when you need to be activated. But we're not about wasting anybody's time.
Right.
So I don't think just shouting on the steps of the Capitol every weekend is effective. And for me, as a business owner, and coming from my background, and originally my degree field was in business. So I'm all about efficiencies and process. If it is not productive and it's not effective, I'm not doing it. Because I've got better things to do, right? And it's at Christmas time. I don't want to be on the steps of the Capitol every single weekend. It doesn't do any good, for one thing.
I mean, she doesn't want us to gather for rallies. She doesn't want us to gather for
No.
family time because she knows
Right.
that we talk when we get together.
That's right, and restaurants. That's why restaurants are shut down. You know, that's how the founding fathers formed the Declaration of Independence, and that's where they forged our founding doctrines, was in the taverns, in the town halls, in the meeting places. And where was that? The local pubs, the local watering holes.
Right.
That's where we meet, we break bread, we talk about ideas, and there's a reason we're being cut off from that. And there's a reason, don't get together with your family, because we all talk, we share our stories, and we get encouraged and strengthened by all of that. So, I would just encourage you, do the things that you know are effective. Don't worry about a battle that's lost along the way. Nobody wins them all, but we're going to win the war if we keep our eyes on the big picture. And we stay together, united, and shut down the criticisms. Shut down the negativity. There's too many people that just want to whine and complain about everything. And I tell them, well, what have you done that's effective? What are you complaining at me for? I'm actually out here doing something that's really powerful and effective.